from us. Love wants you, we can bring it on the floor. Never danced like this before. We don't talk about it.
Hey guys, what is cracking? We are back today with another episode of Meta in the Morning, a series that we have not been able to do for quite a while, unfortunately. I think the last time was over Christmas break.
Yeah, a while ago.
So it's been a long time. Regardless, we have Enteitainment here.
Hello.
And we're excited to be doing it again. This is like a pretty fun series, kind of like a podcast type thing, where when you're going about your day, either eating your breakfast in the morning or driving to work in the morning, or even at night if you want to do some stuff at night. I don't know. You can just listen to this, and it can be a little thing to just listen to when you're going about doing your errands or things of the day. Regardless, today we are talking about the concept of draft-based leagues as a whole. Because as was requested by Zwoops in the comment section of the last Meta in the Morning video. We really appreciate when you guys, come out and leave comments saying what you guys want to hear about. It means that you guys are enjoying the content. We enjoy giving you guys the content that you want to hear about. So yeah, if you have any ideas for what you want to see or hear about in the next episode, definitely go check it out. Leave us a comment in the comment section below. Yeah, so let's get started. Are you even there anymore?
Yeah. I didn't really know what to say.
All right, so our first topic at hand when regarding draft-based leagues is what are they? So do you want to try to start us off?
Sure. Well, a draft-based league is a group of people who come together. We in the CSL, I'll just use this reference to CSL as an example, but in the CSL
Sure.
we currently have 16 members. It's grown a lot, but we have 16 members now.
Plus 8 if you want to go that far.
That's true. There's a whole different section. But anyways, the basic theme is that a bunch of people come together and they have a drafting process where each Pokemon can only go to one player. Like you can't have the same Pokemon on two different teams. So that it's sort of like how you would draft in any sporting game. Like you can't have two Manny Ramirez's on different teams, but I don't know why I thought of that name. Anyways, there's a drafting process, and then you set up a whole schedule. It's like very, very similar to sports. You just set up a schedule where different teams go head to head, and they each have their own record, and you keep track of a lot of different stats. And then at the end, usually there's a playoffs, and the team who ends up winning playoffs just takes all the fame. You could play for money, I guess, but we don't usually.
I don't think anybody really does.
I don't think anyone really does that. Yeah.
I think you play for glory, bragging rights, fun,
Yeah,
popularity, I guess. Maybe winning a big league kind of gives you some more attention. I don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of liked your description of comparing it to sports leagues, because whenever people in the real world ask me, what is a Pokemon draft league? And I'm like, oh, for my draft league, I gotta go record a video or whatever. And people are like, what is that? And I'm like, the best comparison I can draw is like a fantasy sports league for Pokemon. Because that's literally exactly what this is. Like you said, draft a Pokemon, have a team. Yeah, exactly what you said.
Thanks.
So they are a lot of fun. There are a couple large ones in the internet, and there are many, many smaller ones. We hope that as members of the CSL, one day it will grow to be a large, maybe successful, popular, renowned league. Only time will tell. Either way, it's a lot of fun. But there are two big ones that come to mind. And those are the UCL, which I don't know what that stands for, actually. And the GBA, which is the something Battle Association.
Global, maybe?
Maybe global.
Is UCL like United Competitive League?
Maybe. I don't know.
United Champions League? I don't know what they stand for, but
yeah, they all stand for something or other. They're all these like 3-letter acronyms. I don't know. But the UCL and GBA are two very large ones. The UCL is I think slightly more hyped up league. While the GBA has been around also for a little longer, though. It's kind of like the newcomer is the new and exciting one.
Oh.
But they do also they're also both very big. A lot of big YouTubers are in both of them. People like Pokeaim, A-Drive, Shady Penguin, all these really big YouTubers that do videos are in these leagues. And so it's pretty cool to watch. And a lot of smaller leagues have taken inspiration. And some leagues have made it their own. We've tried to make the CSL our own.
Goals.
Yeah, exactly. But there are different approaches to drafting systems between these different leagues. The biggest point of difference being the GBA and the UCL are the two large overarching themes of the draft system itself. And if you want to go into that as much as you know.
Oh, the drafting systems?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't personally know because I don't really follow the GBA or the UCL with any consistency, but I'm gonna have to keep drawing from the CSL because that's what I'm involved in. But
if you haven't, I know a little bit about it too.
Okay,
so
well,
I can always jump in.
Okay, so I think there's basically two main ways that the drafting occurs. The CSL just uses the Smogon tiers, and if you're not familiar with Smogon for some reason, they sort of decide how to rank all the Pokemon based on their usage and based on voting by the players themselves. And they have different tiers you're all familiar with, Ubers and OU and UU and RU and U all the way down the line. So in any draft-based league that wants to use the Smogon system, they will generally assign a certain number of picks that you're allowed to take from each tier. In the CSL, we get like 2 OU picks, 2 UU picks down the line like that. But you can change it according to how many people are in your league, maybe, or how many. It's like up to your discretion, I guess, how many picks you want from each tier. But that's the Smogon method. And then if you want to spend a little more time with your system, you can try to do a point-based system where each
that's
coach.
the effort one.
Yeah, this is the effort one because you're not going off a predetermined accepted list of Pokemon. You're trying to assign a point value to each Pokemon based on, I think it's general consensus, but there must be, maybe they vote on it, I'm not really sure, but each coach basically has a certain number of points to work with, and you spend your points on your different picks. So this means that you can, I think, does this mean that different teams can have different numbers of Pokemon? Like if you spend a lot of points
I
on
think
a
ultimately
couple
the goal is that they can't.
They can't.
Because, and my biggest qualm with point-based leagues is because while they are in theory kind of cool, they have to put a lot of restrictions on them.
Yeah.
In order for the point system to actually work out, be fair, everyone gets the same amount of Pokemon, and then you kind of run into the problems of like, are you really even using a true point system anymore?
Yeah. But I think one of the appealing things about this system for people, if they want to put in the effort, is that you can vote to bring things down from Ubers if you're not drawing from that in your tier. Like I'm sure that there are, or in your league, sorry. I'm sure that some leagues do have Ubers picks. We personally don't on the CSL, but
we actually have Aegislash for next season.
Yeah, so for example, we voted to bring Aegislash down from Ubers, but if you were to have a point-based system, you could go through all of the Ubers Pokemon and sort of decide together how many points each of them are going to be worth. Stuff like Greninja, for example, we made it UU, but only if you don't use Protean, so maybe in a point-based system, you could assign a point value to Protean Greninja if you decided, like as a group, that that was something you wanted to use. So I think that's one of the appealing aspects of a point-based system, but I'm not really sure how well it ends up working. And like you were talking about, it does sometimes just end up being pretty similar to the other system anyways, so it might not be worth the time and effort it takes to actually decide on points for every single Pokemon.
I feel like I don't have any experience with the point system, but we have done a lot of research for the CSL as far as if we wanted to implement a system such as that. We've discussed it a lot. And I feel as though ultimately my own conclusions about it are it sounds great in theory, but in practice it's a little impractical. It just because if you don't apply those restrictions, a lot of people just end up picking 6 OU Pokemon and just bringing those same 6 OU Pokemon every single time, which isn't the point of a draft league. But if you apply those restrictions, all of a sudden it's not truly points-based. But I think there's also the obvious benefits, which are hopefully achieving more balance between all drafts, because everybody is kind of ultimately using the same amount of points. Also, another system would be another comparison would be like it's a little closer to how actual sports teams function, maybe in the fact that they pay certain amounts of players depending on how much money they have, and therefore no one team usually one team won't have like an entire all-star lineup and just be ridiculous. So whereas while the Smogon tiers are not exactly sometimes accurate of how effective a Pokemon is in the draft format, it is able to just kind of like there's an obvious exploitation where if you are able to consistently get lucky and make the right picks and people don't snipe you for them, you can very quickly have a very overpowered team. Yeah. For example, like nobody picked Megazard this season, and somebody could have picked Megazard and then picked if we didn't have franchise, like there's a lot of we have our own restrictions in place, but like it's very easy for things to get out of hand with the Smogon tiers. Yeah. Another thing worth noting though is that at least in the CSL, what we've done is we've actually moving into season 5 and even season 4 in the past, we kind of put our own bans and changes in place. For example, Blaziken has once Blaziken gets to see the light of day again, and we have Blaziken ranked as BL2 along with Torrent Greninja, which Dan has on his team himself. But other changes we're implementing for Season 5 will be Ditto being an RU Pokemon, just because Ditto's, for reasons we'll get into later, a great Pokemon in this format. Ditto, and then also Aegislash is getting unbanned. I think that's all the changes we have for now. But we do have our own little throw-in changes. So it's not like any draft league is completely restricted to using Smogon tiers. Obviously, every draft league can and will usually have its own quirks and things, which is what kind of makes every draft league a little different and a little unique. But yeah.
So that ties in nicely to our next topic, which is talking about sort of the differences to competitive. Our first note here is about the draft construction itself. So do you want to talk about maybe your process when you were drafting for this season or seasons in the past?
Sure. I think this is the first season where I've had a good plan. I've always had some degree of plan as far as what I want, what kind of mons I want. I think a lot of people make the mistake of picking specific mons that they really want without giving themselves like reasonable similar backups. Yeah. Like I think a lot of people are like, oh, I definitely want like Scissor, and if I don't get, or for example, Dubstep Penguin of the Washington Weavils in our league really wanted Sylveon, and when Sylveon got sniped, he picked Florges, who yes is also a specially defensive fairy type, but in most situations functions in completely different roles. So if you don't have really well planned out differences, you gotta construct your draft in a way that it's not completely glued in one way, because it's very easy to get sniped. But as far as my own personal plan, what I did, and you can obviously talk about your approach, we can talk about other people's approaches, but what I did is I looked for offense in the upper tiers, because a lot of the offensive Pokemon in the upper tiers, OU is such a fast-paced offensive metagame right now, and so you're going to find a lot of really strong offensive Pokemon up there that lower tier mons in general just won't be able to handle, because it's hard enough for the OU defense to handle the OU offense. So it's OU is kind of just like a slugfest right now, where like whoever gets their setup sweeper or their offensive tank or their wall breaker in the field at the right time wins. So it's kind of, that's why I was looking for that. And then in the mid tiers and oriented going towards the lower tiers, I look for some defense, because when you look at UU and RU, you see a much more bulkier metagame, and so there's a lot more prominent defensive Pokemon. I know up until recently, Stall was actually a little bit of a problem in the UU tier, which goes to show how much of a problem or how much of a defensive presence there is in the league in that tier. So you have Pokemon like Snorlax, Reuniclus, Florges. These are all Pokemon so obviously having picked up 2 of those, they're really great defensive Pokemon that can also serve offensive roles. And then going into my bottom of the draft, I looked for just like role fillers. Like, do I need a hazard clear? Do I need a hazard setter? Do I need like this, a check to this? I look for, and that's what I think is honestly, at least in my experience, this is the best draft I feel like I've ever had.
Mhm.
In previous seasons, I've really just been like, I want this mega and this core as well with it, and that's what I'm gonna do. But I think you want to look a little more deeply at it than that. How about your approach? What is yours?
Well, I went into it trying to do a sort of similar process where I was gonna pick more offensive mons in the higher tiers and more defensive mons in the lower tiers. That didn't work out the best, I guess, since most of my offensive presence actually comes from UU, and my OU picks, as well as my Mega, being Mega Blastoise, Excadrill, and Celebi, they're sort of utility, but they can be used offensively. But the sort of main theme I was trying to apply to this draft was just versatility as a whole. I wanted to try to pick Pokemon that are hard to read into and have a variety of different sets. So my franchise, Infernape, I'll use as an example. Infernape has like 7 viable sets.
It runs anything it
and like
wants to run.
16 unviable ones. So there's just so many different things you can do with Infernape. And when the opponent sees Infernape, they don't know what it is until it reveals a move. So it can be really horrifying. It can get scary in a hurry.
If I can jump in,
yeah,
team building for you for that exact reason was very difficult because I was just like, I have no idea what he's gonna bring because like I had a feeling you were thinking about like Scarfape or something, but like it's at the end of the day with versatile teams like that, it's just like very difficult. Like, what coverage moves he gonna bring? What type of sets? Go on.
Yeah. So really, versatility was my main theme. I guess I'll talk about Greninja too. Greninja was, I guess, a risk for me because Protean is like the main reason that Greninja is so good, and I'm not allowed to use Protean since we decided if I use Torrent Greninja, it'll be UU. But even without Protean, Greninja has a really wide move pool. It's kind of similar to Infernape just because it gets a lot of different coverage on both the physical and special side. Honestly, it gets more physical coverage than it does special coverage, which is interesting to me. And it can also spike hazards. What am I saying? It can stack spikes. Good lord. I think it gets toxic spikes as well. It gets taunt and stuff. So there's a lot of things you can do with Greninja as well. And basically that is just a theory I applied to like the whole draft. I wanted to try to secure Pokemon that are hard to read into so that my opponents would have a hard time team building for me. So that was my main decision.
And so, yeah, I feel like with your drafts, kind of some cores emerged and stuff. And like my draft as well, some like offensive, some defensive cores emerged that I was hoping to be able to piece together. Regardless, I think that there's not one most effective approach as we've seen throughout every league.
Yeah.
Every league ever, every team ever. Like some drafts will end up being more effective, more potent, more versatile than others, or more effective at certain roles. Yeah, but I think there is no one best approach. I think while you and I may have had somewhat similar ideas going into the draft, you can see that the drafts we emerged with have been very different.
Yeah.
And have both been obviously effective at different things. I think other examples that come to mind are drafts like Classy Zorak of the Saugatuck Sandslash, obviously having a very effective draft as well, but being completely different from either of our constructions, which just goes to show he has a very U-turny, volt-switchy team, which is incredibly intimidating to face up against. Good luck in your upcoming match against him. But like it's very scary to match up against. So there are obviously a lot of different types of methods you can kind of go approach the draft with, and then apply those into your team building process. Which, if you want to get the ball rolling,
is the next thing, our team building process. So this is still under the general theme of the differences to competitive. So in competitive Pokemon, when you're laddering in whatever tier you choose to be laddering in, you obviously don't really know what you're going to see. You might have a general idea because a lot of teams like to run, like in OU, a lot of teams like to run bulky Garchomp or Keldeo or something, so you might have a general idea of the main Pokemon you'll see, but you don't know what you're going to see. So that is different to draft-based leagues because you have their whole draft in front of you and you have to try to think about what they would bring against you and to sort of respond to that. So that's one of the main differences to draft-based leagues compared to competitive, because you actually know their potential answers to your physical threats and what you can do to try to get the edge on them. This can come in the form of like a random coverage move like you wouldn't normally see, like maybe a hidden power something to hit Gastrodon, like you might run Hidden Power Grass on Mega Sharpedo. We saw that once. So it will allow for more creativity in your moveset because you can take advantage of your predictions in terms of what they might bring to respond to your offensive presence. I think that's generally all I have to say about team building.
Yeah, just to like further your points about that. I think when you look at just main tiering type stuff, you have to prep for a lot more, and you also don't know what's coming. There's like the OU tier is like 40 something Pokemon, I think, 40 or 50 something Pokemon, and so you don't know what's coming. But even more than that, you don't know what's coming. You don't know what sets is running. Which, while that kind of can be similar to the draft format, the other thing about that is that none of your opponents know what's coming. So it kind of forces some degree of standardization among all Pokemon, because like Keldeo has to run Secret Sword and Scald and Hydro Pump and a coverage Hidden Power, because that's just how Keldeo has to be run. But all of a sudden, if you have Keldeo and because you never know what you're going to see, you have to do that. But if you're in draft format and you see that your opponent has no Pokemon that Secret Sword even hits, you don't even need to bother bringing it. And so all of a sudden that opens up more spots for versatility or just more unique roles. And again, like you said, because of that, you see people bringing like very interesting things, because space can open up, or like weaknesses can be exploited. Like you said, with the Hidden Power Grass on, I believe it was Cherryman or Sharpedo, clicking Hidden Power Grass, which is really cool to see. A lot of things like that. You also see a lot of interesting things as far as even items held. One thing you don't see very often, but you can see, but again, not very often, in the main tiers is berry usage. So things like Choppleberry Tyranitar do exist in OU, I would say, but you see a lot of berry usage in the draft format and stuff like that, where it kind of gives you this like one-shot edge against the opponent that they might never be expecting, because you can never predict a berry. You can never predict a berry. Like even if you know that berries are common in the draft format, you can't predict it because you just never know. Like Gastrodon could be running leftovers. It could just as easily be running Rindo Berry, and you're never gonna know which one it is until. And then even if you see no leftovers, you still don't know if it's running Rindo Berry. Like it's very hard. It's really interesting because to a certain extent you have an easier time predicting because you know what's coming, or at least what could be coming. But to a further extent, you also are scared because you have no idea what's coming. It could, because people get so much more creative with the team building process. They really do. Here.
And it's been awesome to see, honestly. Just quickly, it's been great to see all the versatility in team building.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think that's what makes draft format so special.
Yeah,
it's something you don't get to access, like something you don't get to enjoy in a lot of other places.
Yeah.
Our final topic for discussion today, because we are, as per usual, running over the expected allotted time. It's good, though. We have a lot to talk about, and that's always nice to see. Yeah. We always get worried that we're going to run out of content or something. But are the qualities of good draft-based Pokemon. And I think what I really want to get at here is that what Dan basically brushed up on when he said his approach to draft construction, which Dan was looking, when he was conducting his draft, for versatile Pokemon. And I think those are the most dangerous Pokemon you can have in a draft format battle. Versatility is just so
scary.
Not even necessarily versatility offensively or defensively. That's also pretty helpful. But I feel like it's like just the biggest thing is versatility as far as move pool on certain sets goes.
Yeah.
Because Infernape could run Swords Dance, but then you never know what's going to be after that.
Yeah.
Because it could have Fire Punch or Flare Blitz. It could have Mach Punch or Close Combat. It could, or I don't even know.
Shadow Claw, Gunk Shot.
Yeah, Shadow Claw, Gunk Shot, Thunder Punch, Grass Knot, just because. You never know what these things are going to be running. And I think that's what makes a lot, versatility, not just rolls-wise, but move pool-wise, is what really makes an effective draft-based Pokemon.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the matter?
I mean, I pretty much agree completely with that. I think it's hard for Pokemon that are very one-dimensional to do well in draft-based leagues. I think we talked about 4 move slot syndrome in a past episode, and I think Pokemon that suffer from that are particularly potent just because they can select their coverage. Like with your Manaphy, Manaphy can run Tail Glow and then whatever 3 moves it needs to completely decimate your team, which makes Manaphy makes Manaphy extremely horrifying. So I think along with versatility and a good move slot, Pokemon Pokemon that suffer from 4-move slot syndrome in OU or UU or just in competitive play in general perform very well in a draft-based battle.
Yeah, definitely. Other Pokemon that come to mind is going to be like things like Infernape, Kyurem Black, Thundurus, Hydreigon. These just Weavile, honestly. These like usually these offensive 4-move slot syndrome Pokemon all of a sudden can pick their coverage, and the one problem that they used to have is now like the biggest advantage they could have. And that is what led to ultimately Hoopa Unbound being banned from our draft format in the CSL. Hoopa Unbound was just like, you could try to prep for it, but it could just as easily, like you could try to prep for a good physical Hoopa, but it could just as easily run just as effective of a special spread and mess you up even harder. Which is what, like, factors like that are what ultimately go into that. Other Pokemon that other qualities that kind of stand out, again, being offensively or defensively variable. I'm trying to think of, like, Snorlax is a good example of that. I'm trying to think of other. Celebi, I think, is a potentially good example. I don't know. But one Pokemon that comes to mind a lot is Ditto. Ditto is a Pokemon that the reasoning behind moving up to RU for our draft format, just because as a PU pick, it's ridiculous. Because Ditto is as good as the team you're playing against, which means it can be effective anywhere. It also, you don't even have to bring Ditto, and it single-handedly puts so much pressure on like offense in general. Like when you see a Ditto on the opponent's just roster, before you even get to the match, like you're all automatically afraid to bring strong setup sweepers, strong attackers in general. Because what if they start setting up? You start setting up, and then Ditto comes in, and all of a sudden my Manaphy is at +6, and now a Scarfed +6 Manaphy is on the opposing side of the field clicking Surf, and I don't have anything to deal with it anymore. You know what I mean? So, Pokemon like that. Do you have any last thoughts to add?
I don't think so. I think we should end this before it goes too far overboard. I think we did a pretty good job, though. We analyzed that very well.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. But, all right, Dan is sending me a clear message. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. These are always a lot of fun, and for me personally, I really like discussing and just looking at competitive play, if you can't tell by the other videos on my channel. And so videos like these are like where I feel that I, at least personally, have the most to offer. So with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I think I already said that, but stay tuned. Definitely go check out Enteitainment's channel. He will actually be uploading the Spin the Mega series, I believe, basically at the same time, if not similar time, as I am uploading this. Go check him out. He does a lot of really fun Let's Plays. He has a much more consistent uploading schedule than I do.
I'm trying to.
He does a lot of. He's doing a Soul Silver run right now. He's doing a Joanna Plays, which is a friend of his doing Fire Red, and that's been a party so far.
It's gonna take years.
But there's a lot of good stuff on his channel. Go check him out.
Thanks.
And I will leave it there. Kraken Nation out. As he goes into Rotom, because you already know this Rotom's about to go for Trick. You already know this Rotom's about to go for Trick. So the question is,